Hi, this is Tor, and welcome to this interview. With us today, we have Mike Hugdahl from Ingredion, and I'll let Mike introduce himself a little bit on your title. I actually had your title down, Michael, but I forgot to see the update because you had an old title there. So what is your current title?
Yep. I'm currently Senior Director of Specialty Manufacturing in North America for Ingredion.
Okay. So would you mind telling us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. Yep. I've been with Ingredion about 31 years. I'm a chemical engineer out of University of Wisconsin-Madison. I started in our really large manufacturing site right outside of Chicago, and we have quite a few automated large manufacturing sites across the Ingredion network. And then I worked at the Chicago plant in a variety of different engineering and operations roles. I eventually, after about 13 years, transferred out of that plant, went to a plant in Stockton, California. I was plant manager there. Great experience. And then I came back to Chicago as plant manager. And then about 6 years ago, I moved into our headquarters at Westchester, Illinois, and took on some multi-site roles in varying degrees over the last about 6 years. For about 5 of those years, I had reliability as part of my title. And I was tasked to develop a reliability strategy and plan for North America, and then put plans together to roll that out across Ingredion.
All right. Well, great. So right now, if I recall, you have 4 plants that reports to you, 4 plant managers. Is that correct? Or
yeah, currently in my role, I have 13 sites across North America, and that's in North America, Ingredion, we have 22 facilities. So 13 of them are specialty plants that report up through me.
Gotcha. Okay. So I was misunderstood that. All right. Well, very good. Maybe short. You told a little bit about Ingredion, but what does Ingredion do? Can you said the number of sites there, maybe a little bit what you do, and kind of give us a feel for the plant size. You know, is it 3 guys in maintenance, 100? You know, that kind of thing. Yeah,
great. So Ingredion as a company, we're a global ingredient solutions company. We have operations throughout the world. We have roughly 47 sites across the world, and as I said before, 22 of them in North America, 13 of which are specialty manufacturing that report to me. And Ingredion, as far as the ingredient solutions, we make sweeteners, starches, nutritional ingredients, biomaterials, and they're used in food, beverage, paper, pharmaceuticals, lots of different industries. As a company across the world, we have about 12,000 employees. From the sites that we have, they vary from very small, or with about 15 people at a site, to very large, where there's 600 plus employees at a site. So wide variety, and within that, so the small site might have 1 or 2 maintenance resources, and large sites could have 150 maintenance resources or more at some time. So pretty big variety of sites depending on what's manufactured there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear a little bit about that later on here in this interview, because I'm sure there's different challenges on those sites. So what's a product that people recognize, you know, from your company?
So, you know, most of our products are business to business. So we sell to all the large food and some large industrial and pharmaceutical companies. But a consumer product that most everyone's has seen is Argo cornstarch. It's one of the original products, but it's an unmodified corn starch, and it's used for cooking and a lot of different other applications. But that's probably one that people are real familiar with. Mazola oil was another product. We don't own that brand anymore, but it's corn oil that comes from our facilities.
All right, that gives us a little bit of idea, at least, you know. And we should reveal here. So me working for IDCON, and you and I probably met, I think I went back to my notes, about 2015, right? And we've been working on some of these plants, most of these plants, not all 47, but most of the 13 here in North America, we've been doing some type of reliability. So we should probably disclose that. But tell me a little bit, when you started here in, I think it was late 2015, you started, taking, I don't know if it was another stab, but you start taking a stab at reliability, right? Can you tell us a bit how you came about and why that was important to you?
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. And probably like most companies, Tor, we've had a variety of different approaches to reliability over a lot of years.
Yeah.
And I think what happened differently about 6 years ago now was the fall of 2015 is that we had really good support from the top of our company. And, this was driven by the president of North America, who's now our CEO, that he's just like, we got to have more reliable operations. What does that mean? How do we do it? And so I have zero formal reliability training. I just have a lot of experience working at plants, making mistakes, and working really hard to make the plants run well. So he tasked me with starting to develop a reliability strategy. So we started that in the fall of 2015 and really brought together. We had various internal experts around reliability within our network, of course, and this isn't just maintenance, it was maintenance and mostly engineering, some operations support. But the first thing was we spent a couple of weeks to break down what does reliability mean to us, and we came up with what I feel is a really good model for us. And then from there, we took that forward and we engaged, it was roughly 6 different consulting firms, of which IDCOM was one. And we went through a process to, all right, how would you help us? How would you support us? And you remember we had some really good discussions with a lot of different companies. And in the end, it really came down to a fit around, we knew that this was a people change and a culture change, and that we needed coaching. We needed to teach people these processes, and we chose IDCOM, and we really started with a focus on 2 main plants, and then built on it from there.
Right. So we started with 2 of your larger plants, and most of the effort on the largest plant there in Chicago. Right now, around that, looking back, what would you say was one of the biggest challenges going through this? And maybe we should say it's not like you're maybe all the way there yet, right? We're still working on it after 5 years.
Absolutely, it's a journey for sure. And yeah, I think we went into it because you and I and others that this is a big people and culture change, and people. We come from a very reactive background with our manufacturing and how we approach things. And so we knew we were making massive changes to the way people work, the processes that we expected them to use. And I think I underestimated the time, even knowing that, underestimated the time and work it would take to get people to buy in. And it took change in people, right? And sometimes that was through performance management cycles that people just didn't last, and you had to use that to get through expectations. So we had a lot of people change over past years, and that's just another huge hurdle to manage because you're retraining people and that. But I think just the people aspect, nobody should underestimate the amount of change if you come from a place like we did, where really reactive type approach. But I would say as we've gone through this, we've matured quite a bit. We've made great strides, and I can see our teams getting stronger. Their performance is at much higher levels. So that was the main thing. I think too that we were ready for the change, and people understood. We did a lot of socializing of what we were thinking about reliability, why we wanted to change. And I think we did a decent job at that. And the one piece though that I'd push on even more is to try to help people understand reliability is not just maintenance. It's maintenance is obviously a huge part of it, but so is operations, engineering, procurement, HR. They have really important roles to play as well. And if we try to just push it from a maintenance perspective and allow people to think that maintenance is going to change reliability, that doesn't work. And so just getting people engaged in the fact that everyone has a role and really important roles was something that was really important.
Yeah, even to this day, you know, I'm being on this side, on the consulting side, going to different sites. It's huge. You see how important the people side is, because once people really is on board, and not just saying, oh, we want reliability, because if you ask somebody, hey, do you want reliability, from a corporate guy like you, he's like, yeah, I want. What do you think? No, it's like, no, I want an unreliable plant. I mean, of course you want reliability, right? Or do you want safety? Of course, but the question is, what are you willing to do for it? And I think what I've seen a lot is, which I'm impressed with, the Ingredion, you stuck with it, because I felt like the first plant we worked with there in Chicago was quite a challenge with the people side. You know, you had contract maintenance was reporting to operations. We definitely need operations involved, and a lot of work. But you kind of stuck in there, even though the results did not come. I wouldn't say that. I mean, we saw things happening, maybe, but I mean, definitely not the first 6 months, right? We were basically sitting trying to figure out what to do, how we're going to work together, right? The work process, a lot of documentation. I mean, nothing really happened on the plant floor, unfortunately. And that's something that maybe we should have done, had some quick wins, but it's almost like we were at the point where people really need to wrap their mind around what we're trying to do, right? And agree.
Yeah, Tor, I think that's a great point. And again, it goes back to, you know, this was really supported by the top of our company. So they had a lot of patience, and they really did stick with us with funding and people and what we were doing. And so them being part of it was really important. On the things I could have done better, when you talk like that, I think we could have done a better job of marketing the improvements being made, because like you said, and it's still, we can talk more about it, but we're making improvements and we're far better than what we were, but it's still a process and a journey. But marketing the changes that are being made, I think, is probably something I could have done better to the top of our company, where there's a lot of leading indicators that I could promote and communicate, you know, before the CFO, you know, comes to us and says, well, when are we going to see less spending, right? And that stuff, like just showing, hey, we're doing more planned work than reactive, and look at these numbers, and everyone can understand how that's going to be a better way to manage our plants, and a more efficient way of using our resources and spending our money. And, you know, the fact that CBM routes do so much, and, you know, showing, you know, some of the gains that we make when we really execute capital project with thinking about design for reliability. So a lot of different things that I would encourage, and I probably should have marketed a little more to the top of our company, just to really show them where all the work is going. Because yeah, we didn't see immediate reduction in spending, or some of the things that you know, maybe the top of the company might be really focused in on.
Yeah, for sure. Right. And on our side, we've done that analysis quite a few times. And I think that is a tough sell for many companies, because what we see is actually typically an increase in maintenance spending to some degree, right? It may not be huge, but you see that increase. So you have this initiative, you hire a consultant, you see some things happening on the floor, but you see some costs going up, and people panic sometimes, right? But then it takes some time before that cost comes down, which kind of makes sense, because you need to upgrade your equipment so it runs better, right? So you need to spend some money on your equipment to actually upgrade it, if you simplify it. And once you upgrade your equipment, then maybe cost comes down, but then you also need to systematize that so you're not back in the same hole too. I mean, it's a lot of things going on, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think, Tor, you know, we talked, you know, there's curves out there that I'm sure experts, you know about, where, you know, you have that rise in spend, just because, you know, you have to correct some of these issues that are outstanding. We talk a lot, that's maintenance debt. And then, you know, roughly 18 months, 24 months, you know, you should be able to bring it under control. Well, I think our plants, again, being from such a long history of reactive type approaches, we probably have more maintenance debt. So our curve is spread out a little longer, and it just depends on how quickly people adopt processes and engage in the things that we know drive better asset reliability.
Yeah. Yeah, it's encouraging to hear as your top management are really on board, because I feel like that is key. I talk to my consulting group here and we say, what are the things? So, well, first of all, you need to have a drive from the top of the company that say they can accept this and have some basic understanding that it's going to take a little time, but also that the plant managers also drive it
Yeah.
to some degree. I mean, every plant manager, like we said, ask them if they want reliability. They say, sure, I support it. But to me, what I've seen, and I think Ingredion is a good example, you see the plant manager said, well, I support it, but I'm also going to drive it. I'm going to ask questions. These are the things. So we spend quite a bit of time, at least in a few of the sites, coaching the plant manager and saying, this is what you need to look for, because some of those guys are great reliability and then they know their stuff, but some of the other quite inexperienced.
Yeah, for sure. And that's, I feel I tried to spend a lot of time, engaging the plant managers, because you're right. I mean, that's who has to lead it at a site, and they have to get cross collaboration across the different functions and really drive it. And so where we had better engagement and understanding by the plant manager, we had better implementation. And we had some facilities where plant manager didn't last because they just really couldn't buy into the process. And so you have to have that support. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that right now. I don't know how updated you are on one of your other sites, but one of the guys that went from the Chicago sites now going to Kansas City, North Kansas City, right? And he knows exactly what needs to be done, and things are happening probably 10 times faster, maybe 20 times faster. Part because the site is smaller, but also part that he's absolutely clear on what he needs to do, right? So now it's just a matter of, look, this is just take one thing at a time, and things are coming like a ketchup bottle effect in just a few months, right?
Yeah. Yes. You're absolutely right.
We look at improving reliability. So there's so many moving parts. I see it almost like I used to coach hockey for the kids, ice hockey for many years. And one way of doing this is to, as a plant manager, corporate manager like you can scream, look, just win the game, win the game, win the game. But in reliability, I feel like you have to kind of teach people how to play the game, like most things, right? But I mean, you really need to take one thing at a time. And if you break down that reliability, I see 5 major parts. Like you have your preventive maintenance, just doing your regular inspections, I include lubrication in that. Like the work management is the second part. You have your spare parts management that sometimes reports to purchasing, sometimes to maintenance. And then you have just technical data of your equipment. Like you have a bill of material that I know what is inside my pieces of equipment, just because you have some older plants that you have equipment from the 70s. And then you have your basic problem solving. It's like 5 major things. What have you seen is the most important? Because there's so many things to tackle here, right? And we started from different ends and different projects. Sometimes we started on the bill of materials, building the data, but it's not really giving you any direct results, right? Because it saves some time for maintenance to find parts and what have you. You have your planning and scheduling, which is more involves everybody. You have your inspections that finds a bunch of problem, but if they're not fixed, who cares, right? So where do you see, like, which order do you see being the most effective, or have you thought around that?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you'd agree with this. There's just not one area that'll drive a big improvement. I think, all these different facets have to work together. And, we started at pretty low maturity level in every category. I just don't feel we were doing great in any of them. So, we had a lot of improvement to do. But, I really like the fact that we started with the work process. So planning and scheduling and just getting a robust RACEs out there, and specific standard way of driving planning and scheduling, and how that whole operation works, and that there's a gatekeeper from operations, and you bring these things to meetings to decide on what gets done. So that creating that discipline, I think, is super critical. So to me, the whole work process and planning and scheduling is really important. The other top areas I think I would pick is around the preventive and predictive maintenance you spoke of, and CBMs. And yeah, we have lubrication with that within the PM side, and we decided on that. I think it was the right thing. We put a lot of efforts, as you know, into just our lubrication practices. and creating those standards, and then also putting the infrastructure in that allowed us to do the right things with lubricants. And so I think the whole basic lubrication foundation was a really important part for us, because we had some super bad practices with that were creating issues. And also part of that PM, PDM, the CBM routes. And I think, like I said before, very reactive culture. And I think it really helped us shift that mentality from PMs have to be invasive and you rip apart the equipment and look for things, versus the CBM routes are, runtime PMs, and you can catch a lot of stuff just by giving some very basic tools and some discipline around making that happen. And also along there is just I love a lot of our advancement of online vibration and temperature monitoring equipment. We're starting to do some pretty cool stuff with that. But basics, planning and scheduling, and then PM, PDM, CBM routes, I think were some of the real critical areas for us.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I see the same thing. And I think that's pretty generic through any company I've been through, because I think one thing that we did right there together was that we didn't try to get the perfect plan. We didn't try to get the perfect, everything perfect in the planning and scheduling. We didn't get all the advanced tools. We basically said, look, let's get the basic work process where we prioritize work together with operations. I mean, that was a huge thing, just getting operations maintenance together and prioritize work, right? And say, look, it was really important for the plant, not for Tor or for Mike, right? And then just basic planning, basic scheduling, and that way we freed up a bunch of time, and we got the guys to do the CBM routes, like you say. And today, this day and age, I hear a lot about everybody's focusing on installing artificial intelligence and automatic CBMs and all that, and that's coming for sure. But we just started getting a guy out there with a couple of basic tools, like a stroboscope and temperature gun, and let's just check the equipment to start, because before we're at the artificial intelligence or all that stuff, it'll be years, right? Just get them out there and find the basics, instead of taking the pump apart, like I found the work orders, and replace the bearing every 6 months, which was in the work order, but people actually didn't do that. But that was in the work order. We just said, hey, let's go out and do a vibration check, of course, and then make sure we lubricate it right, and just take a temperature and listen to it. And that's fairly simple to set up. I mean, I'm not to say super simple, but at least getting the basics going, right? And then you free up some time, and then you can go from there.
Yeah, I think, and I really pushed and helped the organization resist just buying a bunch of new technology and plopping it on, because I totally agree with you as well, that just getting that basic discipline to get out in the operation, formal CBM routes, smell things, see things, hear things, the simple vibe pen, very, just get out and see your operation, and just develop some ownership of equipment and the assets, and can be super powerful. And we saw that one of the early adopters within the Chicago plant, an area of the plant, just went strong into that, got the planning and scheduling set up right, initiated the CBM routes with the help of VidCon, and man, we within 4 months set production records. We were able to unlock new business through that part of the plant. It was just super powerful, and it was an example of these tools really working and driving good results in the operation.
Yeah, we tend to, when we have a problem, we try to find a tool and go into software. You and I may have gone to like the vibration pen, or something, because that feels comfortable, right? And we go in a corner and we try to analyze, and instead of just getting out in the plant and say, look, let's just go out there, look, listen, feel, smell.
I think if any of my team, watches this or listens to it, one of the things I preach, and this isn't just around reliability, it's we run our plants and we own these assets, and there's a lot of people that we got to be out there, the Gemba walk, we got to be out there talking to people, looking, smelling, hearing, all those things. It's our house, right? And there's just so much power, not only from just the equipment perspective, but you got a lot of people out there working, and we're all part of this. And there's a lot of power in managers, whether it's a reliability engineer or the area manager or a plant manager, being out there and being part of it and seeing it. And so I push that a ton. We gotta get ways where we have less meetings and we can just be out there in the plant, because there's just so many benefits that come with that. At the same time, for sure, some of these, I said I was excited about some of the technologies we've deployed on vibration and temperature monitoring, and and really not do that across the plant, but some of our critical equipment. It's given us some pretty good insights, and we're expanding that around, just really big fans, big pumps and motors that are real critical to our operation. And we can do some really good real-time monitoring and alarming of various things there. So there's definitely a place for it, but I don't see any way out of, you got to be out there and see what your assets are doing and be part of that whole process.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if we summarize here a few questions, what do you think are the biggest wins so far for your company with reliability? I mean, do you have any specific, or do you have some generic, larger numbers? Or, I mean, I know you can't share numbers, but where do you see the biggest wins so far? Have you seen some really good wins as far as financial results so far?
Yeah. For sure, the biggest value is around unlocking OEE. And I mentioned that before on one specific part of the Chicago plant that just hit a home run and unlocked a lot of capacity, and still is. I mean, this is now, I think, probably 4 years later after they've implemented those things, and they're just killing it. They're doing really well because they've got some really good base practices in. So, that unlocking that capacity and being able to run as our customers expect, efficiently, because they're not going to pay for our waste, on time, so we can deliver what we commit to. Those things, the value there is huge. It's a little bit harder to gauge and measure sometimes, because that really takes collaboration. Doesn't make sense for us to just run a plant harder and build inventory. That's waste. So you have to develop that credibility with the commercial team that you can actually deliver and make more. You have to get out there and sell it, so it goes hand in hand. But I would say OEE and capacity release is probably the biggest thing. Now, along with that, the more mature plants, for sure, we are seeing much better control of costs. So you don't get these spikes of crazy spending like we saw a lot in the past, and we still have at some facilities. But I think just control of spending, we haven't seen a huge decrease in our maintenance spend, but plants that are more mature have leveled off. And I think we have some really good things that can now support better efficiencies and things like that. I'd say the other thing too, I got to give some credit. One of our facilities won the lubrication, the battle award that's done annually. And they won that. I think that was about 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, but they have just taken it to another level just around reliability, and have risen to one of our best facilities, just really well managed, doing great kitting, just organized. So I bring the top of our company through these plants, and they're super impressed. It shows well, you can see it. Doesn't mean their maintenance spend has dropped way off, but you can see the efficiency and the value, and really, again, supporting that OEE and the customer, and being reliable in that output is just a huge win.
Yeah, and I think we see that with most of our clients, that maintenance cost typically comes down as a last thing, eventually, because you spend less money on repair. I mean, less money on repairs, of course, and spare parts and what have you. But typically, you see that increase in OEE. So the first thing you'll see, well, not the first thing, but one of the results that you see is maybe cost per unit produced, right, for a process industry. So maybe total maintenance spend is kind of sitting there, but you see more output, you see more accuracy, like you said. So cost per ton may go down while the total maintenance spend may sit there, but eventually it will drop off too, but that typically takes a little time. So you'll see that coming, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, when it comes to, so you engaged IDCON here, our company, and What do you see the biggest value? Your experience with us, but having a consultant, consultant and consulting can be divided up. In my book, you can have service where you go in and do things for you, which we've done some. Some of our junior consultants have gone in and actually build the bill of materials. They've been written some PMs and some of the sites that really struggle with manpower. But you also have more of the training and coaching. So where do you see the biggest benefit of using a third party, and where do you think you need it and where do you think you don't? Because we're not working necessarily in all the sites, right? So it depends.
Yeah, I've worked with a lot of different consultants in different areas of the business, and like you said, there are different ways to use consultants. We started talking about this. I firmly believe that good reliability is really, it involves so many different people. So it's people change and culture change, and so there is no way to do that for people. So it has to be a teaching, coaching type support to change that. And honestly, that's why we selected IDCON originally, is because I felt we meshed up good with that approach on things, that hey, we need to teach and we need to coach and then recoach our teams on how to do this the right way and what these processes are. So that's bottom line for me is that was the value in IDCON, that all of our managers, which I think have a really good understanding of the processes and what it takes for reliability. They have a lot of different things on their plates that can easily get distracted. The fact that we have a really good resource that can focus every minute of every day that they're there on these reliability processes, that's invaluable, just so you can just keep doing it, keep attacking it. And so, I'd say that piece, and then just people that are doing the consulting, the fact that, like you have provided us, it's been huge because the resources have a lot of experience, they have a lot of credibility, and they're practical. And that's what I've really appreciated working with IDCON is, the people we've worked with have been fantastic, and they have that just real world good approach to how they're coaching and teaching and building these processes with us.
Right. I appreciate that. No, it's been a good relationship. Last question here. Where are you guys going the next 3 to 5 years with Ingredion reliability? What's next? I mean, as great it is for us being consultants, we'd love to stay with you, but the whole idea is we phase out, right? I mean, we kind of transfer the process, and you have many plants. So I don't know, how long it's going to take, but that's the whole idea. But where are you going with reliability overall? Where do you see Ingredion in a few years here?
Yeah, so finally, last year we actually stood up a reliability center of excellence. So, really proud of that, because it was a lot, like I said, a journey, and we're still on a long journey. But now we have a decent sized organization that is just totally owning this, and that is their focus. So, similar to what we brought IDCON in to do, we've got some awesome people part of that center of excellence that now their job is to go out to the plants and help coach and teach on these different processes. So, we got a ton of work, and we're still maturing, the sites we've been working on over the years. We have some new sites across the world that, we have to build just like we've built from ground up. So it's still a lot of work, but I just see us continuing on with the journey. We still have great support from the top of our company in all the regions. People believe in it, and we've shown some really good results from it. So it's just keeping on with the same approach on building the processes at these facilities, engaging the different functional groups. It's not just maintenance, right? Maintenance, operations, engineering, procurement, HR, and then I think the sustainability part. We talk a lot about that. So how do we use that center of excellence to do assessments at sites where we're more mature now, but we got to keep on it. So the journey is continuing on stability where we're more mature, but continuing to evolve and continuing to spread that whole reliability approach across all our facilities. But I don't think you ever get there. I mean, this is something that'll just continue on, and we'll just keep growing through years and years.
Yeah, I see that with some of our clients that kind of gone to the world class, as you know, on their assessment that IDCON does, and we also actually have partially trained your team to do it, the assessments. But once they get there up there 65, 70, 75 world class, their challenge is just to stay and continue on it, and people change, so it's a continuous challenge, right? So it is what it is, just like working out, unfortunately, right? We used to have to keep at it, trying to do a couple of times a week, whatever it is, that'd be great. Well, Mike, I really appreciate your time. It's great to have you, because it's hard to get guys like you in conferences, but this works pretty good, so people can hear the message out there. So we really appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being with us.
You got it. My pleasure, Tor.